Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews. Today, I'm Tracy Phillips, and I'm interviewing Laurie Buchanan. She is a Pacific Northwesterner and the author of 4 Sean McPherson books. Number 4 is coming in April. She describes herself as a cross between Dr. Dolittle, Nanny McPhee, and a type A Buddhist. She is a voracious reader, photographer, and a writer. She reviews books each week and has 468 books on her Goodreads want to read list. Yikes. She plans on 9 books in the Sean McPherson series, or maybe she'll keep it going as long as readers are devouring them.
Yes.
Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you for having me, Tracy. It's good to be here.
It's so great to talk to you again about your books.
Yes.
So you are the successful author of 2 self-help books, The Business of Being and Note to Self, a 7-step path to gratitude and growth.
Yes.
I feel like I should probably read those. Since I've known you, which has been maybe 4 years, I've always wondered if there's aspects from that part of your life as a self-help guru that maybe you use to fuel your writing career.
So yes, as a matter of fact, in 2 different hats. So some people would call me, including myself, a subject matter expert in business. So as a writer, I treat writing as a business, and it's a very serious business. You might be a really, really, really good writer, but if you aren't good at business, it's not going to go very far. And if you're really, really good at business, but not a really good writer, that's also an issue. And then to maintain the energy that I have to maintain with the commitment of a book a year for 9 years, what that involves, I definitely rely on my holistic health background. Not just rely on, I live it. I practice what I preach. So it's, yes, both of these things come into big play, big time. But I suspect just because my life is healthy, the one that I think about more often is the business aspect of things, as you do too. We both know as writers how important it is to have our business hat on as well. So yes, it comes into play, very much so.
That's very interesting. I'm always wanting to dig into the lives behind writers' books, you know. So what exactly keeps you so focused and driven?
Well, with anything, I'm sure you're this way too. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well. And if I make a promise, I keep my promise. Same with you. So we schedule our time and we are committed to that. We let our families and friends know that from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm unavailable. I'm at work. Even if they know you're sitting in your house, that doesn't mean you're not at work. We all learned during COVID, whether you're in the corporate world or not, you can work from home and you can do it successfully. And in many cases, more successfully than in being at the office.
Right.
So I'm driven by excellence. That's really important to me. I'm driven by, when my publisher dangled, first it was as far as fiction books, 1 book, then 3 books, then 5 books, then 7 books, then 9 books, which they wouldn't have done had they not been good. I don't want to miss a beat. My contract is written in such a way, good, bad, or indifferent, that they can let me go if I don't hit my bars, and I can also let them go. So I respect them and I respect myself. I made a commitment, so I'm going to keep that commitment, and I'm going to have every book be even better than the previous book. I'm just going to do it no matter how hard my head hurts from whacking it against the wall.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize. To be a successful writer, you do have to treat it as a job first and foremost. You schedule
First and
your
foremost,
time, and
absolutely. And
yeah,
no matter who your publisher is,
yeah,
whether it's yourself or another entity anymore, unless you're Stephen King,
right,
you're doing your own marketing as well. Your publicity, you're your own PR person, you're your own marketer. Even if you hire that out, which some of us do, some aspects, I
right,
might contract for a bucket of something to be done that I can't do myself.
right.
Um, we are it. Nobody, no matter how much money you pay them, is going to have as much buy-in as you do. So they're not as invested. So if you're that invested, you might as well do it, unless you don't have the knowledge. And there are certain things I don't have the knowledge, so I will
Right.
hire that out. There's not a lot of that, but there is some of that. But anything uh, that I can do, I try to do it myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sean McPherson mystery takes place mostly at Pines and Quills Writers Retreat, which is in the northwestern corner of Washington State. I know some of the books diverge from this location, but the main characters, Sean and Emma and Neil and Libby, all the owners of Pines and Quills, they keep showing up. So what are the difficulties of writing a series like that and keeping your characters engaging and interesting and doing things?
Right. So that's a great question. So I always pivot from Pines and Quill in Bellingham, Washington. So I've got this phenomenal location. I'm really close to Canada. I'm right on Bellingham Bay, which puts me in the San Juan Islands, which puts me in the shipping district, which puts me out in the Pacific Ocean. Just north of there is Alaska. We all know that Alaska is 36 miles from Russia. So we've got the Bering Strait. I can move arms. I can traffic drugs, humans, organs, um, all sorts of things from that location. We've got the Cascade Mountains. So the location is ideal. So what I've done to keep it interesting and exciting and fun is at this writing retreat, each book is a different month. And each month there are 4 writers in residence, different each time, that come in, and they bring with them their own, whatever it is, their own baggage. Some of them are good guys, some of them not so good guys. Some of them wear a mask. I'm sweet, loving, kind, and thoughtful, but I'm really not. I'm a killer. So we've got that going on. So then you have to think, well, wait a minute, if I'm killing everybody all the time at Pines and Quill, nobody's going to come. So I've had to be very smart about that. And how am I now using some of the people in some of the books to help uh, keep Gambino at bay, or now I've got also the Serranos gang that is there now in the one I'm writing right now, which is book 7, Los Lobos, so from the East Coast. So I'm keeping it fresh and always viable. This could really happen. I look at the headlines. This could really happen. This has happened. This will happen. That kind of a thing. So that's how I try to keep the balls in the air, is different people bringing different perspectives. Some my good guys agree with, some my good guys don't agree with. I've brought in malware in the book that I'm writing right now, to the Bellingham precinct, the police station. Anybody at that police station who has, um, we all have our cell phones. And for me, I don't like looking, I'd rather be on my laptop. So maybe if I was in the corporate world, I might sneak a quick look at my bank account rather than try to do it on my phone. Well, anybody at that precinct who has done anything personal, they just open themselves up to a world of hurt with this malware, spyware. And I'm keeping it fresh with things that really happen in the headlines.
Yeah, it sounds like it's fun for you.
It is fun for me. The research aspect is so fun. And then you take this information that can be rather clinical, and you try to deliver it in a very tasty, give me more dessert like manner. So that's where the fun is, the research, and then to flip that into something that's engaging.
Yeah, absolutely. So your April release, Iniquity, which I have right here, is
Okay.
the fourth book in the series.
Yes.
And I have two of your other books there too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Um, and in this book, Giorgio Gambino, who you just mentioned, he is one of the most ruthless, awful people. In this book, he abducts Emma, Sean's pregnant wife. She's pregnant, for crying out loud, and he abducts her. And so I want you to set this story up for our readers.
So not only does he abduct her, but Sean McPherson. There's two Seans. There's Sean Rafferty. So to keep them separate, we go Mick and Rafferty.
Okay.
So Joe Bingham is one of Sean McPherson's best friends. He's a homicide detective. His two daughters, Carly and Brianna, age 11 and 13, are taken along in separate incidences, but they're taken to the same place. They're kidnapped, and Emma's taken too. And now we're on Mount Baker, which is in Washington State. It is a very high peak. It's gorgeous. I've been all over it. That's where I got some of the inspiration. And he's got them. He's waiting for there's 12 women altogether that are being taken, a dozen, and they're going to be delivered on a cargo ship through the Bering Strait to a Russian, the head of a Russian mob there. And Gambino has made this deal, and some of them will be sex workers. Some of them will be sold for organs. In other words, they will be killed, and so on. And he's also on this cargo ship. He's trafficking drugs and guns like he regularly does. So we've got them there. And he has said to the three guys, Rafferty, the FBI special agent Rafferty, who's now at this stage of the game, he is married, or he's about to get married to Ivy. And then Joe's two daughters. And then we've got Emma. So he said to all of the guys, Joe, if you help either of these two guys in any way, I will kill your daughters. Rafferty, if you help these two guys in any way, I will kill Ivy. Mick, if you help these two guys in any way, I will kill Emma. So if they help each other, their people are dead. So he set it up for them to put them against each other, but that doesn't happen. But it's very neat how we get them, and he keeps them on the property. If you leave Pines and Quill, you're in trouble. So we've got people incognito who look like them with their hats pulled down, and they're moving things in and out. They've got a refrigerator coming, a washer and dryer.
Well, don't give too much away.
Yeah. So we've got that happening to get them off the property and to get them where they can find their people and rescue them. It was so fun. It was so fun to write that. But the horrible thing is that people really are taken, and they really are sold for their organs. I mean, this happens, or as sex slaves, or as just plain old labor. This happens in today's society. This happens.
Yeah, it's awful. So those are pretty high stakes for all three of your characters, and all of the girls too.
Yes.
They're incredibly high stakes. And as a skilled suspense and action writer, where do you get these ideas? I mean, the headlines.
So yeah, the headlines is very helpful. So I'm a retired holistic health practitioner. A lot of the work that I did was in people who were incarcerated. I got to see the underbelly of humanity, and all of that stuff, of course, goes into Pendaflex folders in your brain, and you can take it and work it. You are up close and personal with sociopaths, with psychopaths, with narcissists. They're friendly in comparison. They're like, oh, sweet, loving, kind, and thoughtful in comparison. And people sometimes use the terms sociopath and psychopaths interchangeably, and they're different. They're similar but different.
Right.
So I have a lot of that knowledge stored there, and I draw from that. I ran away from home when I was 15, so I'm having been on the run. I can draw on that. There was a lot of fear involved with that. A lot of fear involved with that. And I can draw on the feelings, those tense feelings, or fighting for my life in one instance. I can draw on that.
Mhm.
And I do.
And you do it well. You do it very well. And so what about like the physical actions and like the fight scenes are, those are really difficult to write without having, I don't know, some combat training or self-defense training.
So I don't have any professional training, but at any time that I am in the book shooting or using a knife or fighting, I have worked it all out with my husband. We've gone through the motions. He's very good at this. He's retired military. He takes me shooting every single month. If it's in the summer, I'm outside at an outside range. If it's the winter, I'm in an indoor range. I can shoot. I use a Ruger myself, a Ruger GP 100. It's chambered for 357 Magnum. So I can draw on that. I can draw on a knife fight. I can draw on a headlock. How to use my body and to use it to my advantage and his disadvantage. Then I come right back and I write, and I just get it out of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. That's great that you have somebody to practice with.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a good thing we actually like each other.
Exactly. So I imagine as a series writer planning on 9 books total so far, maybe more, that you have plotted out many of these in advance. Is that the case?
Yes. So right now, book 4 comes out. So we have Indelible was the first one, Iconoclast, Impervious. Those are the first 3. Iniquity comes out. Now, right now, Illusionist, which is the spreadsheet from my publisher, is up on the wall. It's this massive thing. That comes out 4/15/25. That is with the publisher. Innocuous is with the beta and sensitivity reader. Now, remind me in case I forget to come back to sensitivity reader. And I'm currently, as we speak, writing Insidious, which is book 7. And then I'm having to remember now to drop breadcrumbs for 8 and 9, and I'm hoping to be like Louise Penny and be on book 9,237 at some point, and because the publisher keeps wanting more. So I'm dropping in things that I can use later if the opportunity permits. And so sensitivity readers, just for anybody who's listening, I always have a demographic in my books from somebody who is disabled in some way. And so I always have a sensitivity reader. I'm very familiar with disabilities, but because I don't personally have one, some might say I have a mental disability, but other than that, I don't have anything personally. I research it or speak with somebody that I know. And then I have a sensitivity reader who is very familiar, and she can say, or he, but it's usually she for me, can say, oh, you missed the mark. For instance, when I brought Ivy Gladstone into the picture, she happens to be blind, and she has her seeing eye dog, which is not correct anymore. She said, no, it's a guide dog. And it used to be called a blind cane. Now it's a mobility cane. So you use it. We're no longer allowed to say master bedroom. We have to say primary bedroom. If we're writing along and we say master bedroom, that has connotations back to slavery. So I have a sensitivity reader who comes through and says, no, change it to this, or good. How did you know that, Laurie? Good for you. Whatever it might be. So it's really important. And then with anybody who is in my book who represents that demographic, they are no less than anybody else. They can have
Right.
the same know-how, same kick butt take names, and I love being able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason to diminish their importance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, so that sounds like great advice for other people trying to write series too. I like the idea of dropping little breadcrumbs, and definitely having sensitivity readers is a great idea for just about anybody these days.
Exactly. And then when you drop those breadcrumbs, I literally have, if I have it right over there somewhere under that stack of books, I have a document. And when I finish a chapter, if I've dropped breadcrumbs in there, I note them. So I remember I've got these things. I've got these things that I can leverage later. Because you don't want to forget, you might have this thing that you talked about, and you can pull it like magic out of a hat later.
That's a great idea, keeping lists for
And then
sure.
I also have a document that, and then what happens, and then what happens. And if I've used a location, a real location, I will only use a real restaurant, a real church, a real pick a thing. If something good happens, if I'm doing something hideous there, I make it up. I don't want to offend anybody.
Oh
But if
yeah.
it's a real place, I then send the book to them and say, by the way, you were featured in here, and you're on page diddle diddle. And I've had lots of people say, in fact, in book 2, Iconoclast, where I have a whale watching excursion, I sent the book to them, and they now carry it in their little gift store.
Oh, sweet. Oh, that's
They
cool.
carry this series, but they always say, and we're in book 2.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great
Yeah.
idea too.
Yeah.
Um, so aside from killer books and killing it on social media, I mean, that was the question. Aside from killer books, you are killing it on social media. Your photography on Instagram is just beautiful, and on Threads and other sites, you post quotes about books and about the writing life. Writers are always looking for ways to improve their presence. How did you develop your brand? And what advice can you give to other people like trying to streamline what they're putting out there?
So that's a great question. And first and foremost, I would say that you pick. So my theme is, if you look at my logo, it's pine trees. So I'm not going to go take probably um, desert pictures with cactus. I'm not going to have probably beach pictures with flip-flops. I keep it within misty pine forests, the Cascade Mountains, and of course Bellingham Bay is there too. So I could have the beach if I wanted, but there's always going to be something pines about it. We know when you look at a photograph that has something to do with my stories, you know it's the Pacific Northwest. Then I keep the same font. I use 2 fonts. So I use Canva a lot. So
Mhm.
within there, you can set up what you want, your branding
Right.
pack. And I use particular colors, I use particular font, and I stay within that. And then the other thing that's really important to me, I like space. I'm a minimalist. I don't like clutter. So my photographs, every one of them, if you look at it, whether you're on a laptop or on your phone, but on your phone, let's say you're looking at Instagram, you get 3 columns across, and then you can scroll down and down and down. I don't want my pictures touching each other. That to me is cluttery and for me. So I have a white border around every single one. And I know that that's my photo too. I know that's my photo. And I embed a few little things because people had been taking my photos. And so I've got little things that I can do to prevent that from happening. But I like this. That's another thing that I do. I have this white border around each of my photos on Instagram, because you see it this way, not necessarily on Facebook, not necessarily on Substack, not necessarily on it picking the other spot. But to me, I have more fun on Instagram than anywhere else. I have a total blast out there. So that's the one that's got this specifically a border around it. So but I stay within that. I'm consistent. People know that at 5 a.m. she's going to post this. At noon she's going to post that. And on Monday it's this, on Tuesday it's that, on Wednesday it's Thursday is Throwback Thursday, Tuesday's Teaser Tuesday. But I've got these things that I do, and then every afternoon at 5 it's my walk of the day. So but maybe somebody who's watching, I do 3 2-mile walks a day, so that gives me 6 miles a day. And then I on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I in the morning especially start and add to that a mile swim, a mile swim, and a mile swim. So I stay very, 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 very active. And if I have a 5-year-old granddaughter, which is more than all of that put together.
Yes, I bet. Yeah, so that's great advice. Just to keeping your images like all uniform, and keeping your fonts the same. And there's so many ways that authors can, choose to do that, whether it's the colors from your book cover or, the colors for your website. So you just kind of keeping everything streamlined.
Yes.
Do you ever reuse or repurpose content, or is it all new?
So if I have to come up with me cooking in the kitchen, I've got maybe 3 shots that I can use, unless I'm feeling like if I'm in sweatpants and I have to turn this around and I look hideous, I'm going to repurpose something where I look wonderful and I have on my red and white striped bistro apron. Yep, I'm going to use it again. I probably take 100 photographs a day. So, and then I go through them and I get them down to maybe 20 that I can use, because on the weekends I'm volunteering. So those walks of the day didn't really happen that day. There's something that happened from the previous week.
Right.
So they're not being reused, but they're something that was from that day, because I'm not out. I can't. I'm there.
Right.
So I think in advance, and I think so. I saw, for instance, this rotten apple that had been left over from last season that had fallen between the tree branches, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's the perfect picture of in between. I took it. I waited for the opportunity to use in between. I used it. I didn't repurpose it, but I think I'm extraordinarily observant. I see things that other people don't see, because when I point them out, my sister will go, how did you see that? What were you even looking for? How did you see that fishing lure 3 stories up in that tree? I'm looking. Yeah. I look where I look up, because where I live, there's bald eagles, and I'm always looking for their nest. So I'm always looking up. Most people look ahead. My eyes are looking for things.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. You're constantly being creative. So that's
trying.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is kind of a non sequitur, but what was the last art exhibit or movie or book that inspired something in your latest what you're working on?
So I just finished reading Susan Isaacs' Takes One to Know One. And what I didn't know, because I'm like, holy, I hadn't read her for a long time, and I had forgotten anything I knew. I went out to her website and I learned that she is 80. She writes like a kick-ass New Jersey 35-year-old who carries a gun and knows what she's doing. And that inspired me. I'm 66, and I thought, I want to be her when I grow up. I want to, oh my gosh, I was just blown away and so inspired. And she has another book coming out, Bad Bad Leroy Brown. You can be sure that I ordered it because she wrote so well, and not just for her age. She just wrote so stinking well. And then I discovered her age, and I'm like, holy cow, how impressed I am with this woman. So literally, I just finished, I listened to it. I listen to the audiobook version because I do so much walking. I listen a lot. And that was a giant inspiration for me.
That's great. That's so cool. And I love it when people can do that for you, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, so lastly, where can readers find your books or connect with you?
So readers can find my books anywhere books are sold. They're available in paperback, ebooks, and audiobooks. Anywhere you buy those things. I am published by Spark Press, and I'm distributed by Simon and Schuster, which is really fun for me to be able to say that's brand new for the authors at Spark Press and She Writes Press, which are my fiction and nonfiction. They're under the same roof. They're sister imprints. So that's very exciting. So because it's Simon and Schuster, you can get them anywhere. And then you can find me online at Laurie, Laurie, Buchanan.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Laurie. This has been such a great informational chat today.
Thank you for having me. I always
Yeah,
love talking with another author. I love your series. I know you've got a book coming out this year,
I
so
do.
I'm excited.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you around.
Okay, thank you.